Okay, part two. So you saw previously that when we collected all those cups, and then the cups were represented by the boxes of crackers, and then the half a box of crackers, we ended up with 8 and an eighth. Keep in mind that we already know that this comes out to be 8 and an eighth. But I'd like you to see it another way now. You'll see why at the end of this video. So we've got 2.5 copies of 3 1/4 cups. Let's literally draw what that says. 2.5 copies of 3 1/4. So 1, 2, 3 1/4. So there's a cup, there's a second cup, there's a third cup, and then there's the fourth of a cup. So there's 3 1/4 cups. I need 2.5 copies of that. So there's 1 copy of 3 1/4 cups. So 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, and 1/4 of a cup. There's 2 copies of 3 1/4. I need 2.5 copies of 3 1/4. 1 copy of 3 1/4, 2 copies of 3 1/4. Let's now get that half a copy of 3 1/4. The way I'm going to do it is draw 3 1/4. So there's the 3 1/4 a third time, but I don't need a third time, I just need a half a time. I need 1 copy, 2 copies, and then a half a copy. To show it a half a copy, let's just cut this thing in half. So half, 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 half. All right, so we already know from before that all that will amount to 8 and an eighth cups. But let's actually count it a different way. Notice that the smallest partition here is this 1/8. If you take this 1/4 and cut it in half, it's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That 1/4, half of that 1/4 is really a 1/8 of a cup. So let's just break everything up into eighths just to see it better. So let's come up here and break this up into eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do that every single time. So now I have 8 eighths, 8 eighths, 8 eighths, and then this 1/4. Remember, this 1/4 here is really 1, 2 eighths. So I have 8 eighths 3 times, and then 2 eighths. Now if we did that all the way down the line, cut everything up into eighths, again I'd have a full 8 eighths, a full 8 eighths, a full 8 eighths, and then if I cut this up into eighths, that 1/4 is 1, 2 eighths. Likewise here, keep cutting into eighths. Now in your mind's eye, when I cut these things up into eighths, they're all equal sizes. And I know it's not perfect in my drawings here, but in your mind, please imagine that those are all exactly the same size. Every one of these 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 eighths. All right, now in here, remember we only had half a box. So this is really 4 eighths, 4 eighths, 4 eighths, and then that 1/8 that we had before. All right, so what I'd like you to do is count up how many eighths we have. We have 8 eighths, 8 of them in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another 8 would be 16. Another 8 would be 24. Another 24 here. So all of these full 8 eighths, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. That's 48 eighths. 49, 50, 51, 52. 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. When you put all of those eighths together, there's 65 copies of 1/8. There's 65 eighths, cups of crackers. Now why would I want you to see it in that way as an improper fraction? 65 eighths is the same as 8 and an eighth. I hope you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take those 2, and those 4. There's 7, 8, and an eighth. there literally are 8 1/8 here if you kind of rearrange all of those 8. There is 8 1/8. That's another way to say it. So you can say 8 1/8, or you can say 65/8. They represent the same thing. But the reason I would like you to see 65/8 is for this reason. 2.5 copies. So can you imagine this? If you had 2 copies of something, now remember in a whole, there's 2 halves. So there's 2 halves in a whole, another 2 halves in a whole, and another half. So this 2.5 is the same as 5 halves. And I have 5 halves copies of 3 1/4. Now in terms of fourths, there's 4 fourths in a whole. So I have 4 fourths of another 4 fourths of another 4 fourths. I have 3 wholes. So that would be 12 fourths, plus one more would be 13 fourths. So you could express this as 2.5, 5 halves, copies of, multiply, 3 1/4, 13 fourths. And then by our algorithm, we just multiply straight across. 5 times 13, use your calculator if you need to. 5 times 13 is 65. 2 times 4 is 8. There's 65/8. So there's the shortcut to the whole thing.